Well, there's a new party in town. New political party, that is. When I say new, I mean it. The launch of the Justice Party was just held on December 12th here in Washington, D.C., with Rocky Anderson at the helm, planning to make a bid for the presidency. Now, Anderson is a former Democrat who also supported Mitt Romney at one time, and he said that he won't take more than $100 per person in donations, part of the greater fight to limit the moneyed influence over our political system. And this party is also launching for the sake of justice, social justice, environmental justice, and economic justice. Things that are definitely themes that you hear brought up a lot these days as protesters across the country join in the Occupy Wall Street movement, and poll after poll shows growing distrust and discontent with Washington. But can a new party really break into our system without embracing big money? Joining me is Rocky Anderson, former Salt Lake City mayor and the Justice Party's first presidential candidate. Rocky, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Great to be here.
All right, so this is brand new. You got to tell us what the Justice Party is all about.
Well, it is, but it's been in formation for a long time. There are a lot of us around the country who know that it's time that we not just add another party to the mix, but that we offer a change in our system, in our electoral system and in the system of governance. And getting the corrupting influence of money out of the system is absolutely necessary, or we're never going to see change. We'll never see changes in terms of our nation's leadership, or now absence of leadership, in climate change. It's absolutely essential if we're going to avoid the catastrophic consequences of climate change for the United States to step up. But we know that it's the corrupting influence of money from the oil and gas and coal industries that has stopped what needs to be done in the public interest. And we see the same thing in the financial sector, deregulation. Why was that done? Because of the corrupting influence of money. President Obama accepted more money from Wall Street than anyone has ever received in history. And then one doesn't have to wonder very long why there hasn't been one person serving time for the massive financial fraud that's hurt so many people throughout this nation.
Couldn't agree with you more on that one. I wonder that all the time. But what we see right now is there seems to be a mood, right, of discontent. If you look at the Occupy Wall Street movements, like I said, if you look at any of the polls. But I'm just wondering, in the history of third parties, if you want to talk about the Green Party, it's just kind of this little miniature party that might sway the election towards one candidate or the other, because this massive campaigning machine is still going on right now between Democrats and between Republicans. So is that what you want the Justice Party to be?
No. The Justice Party is going to be a major force in American politics. And it's time that the American people get over this fear that we might spoil the election for the lesser of two evils and step up and say, coming together, organizing together, building a grassroots movement. We've seen revolutions around the world based on social media. We can do the same thing in this country if we come together and really change the way things are done in Washington.
I'm dying to know how you're going to do this, though. I know, for example, that you're only taking in $100 per person as campaign donations. And that's personally. Are you going to take more money in for the party, right? Because it takes a lot of money to get the party on the ticket.
The party will accept more money. They don't have those same limits. But we feel very strongly that candidates who are running need to limit the impact of money. And I used to fight when I was a practicing lawyer for an end to gifts by lobbyists to legislators, the Utah State Legislature. And they basically laughed me out of there. These people were going on ski vacations, golf vacations, front row seats at the Jazz games. It's bribery, pure and simple. And these gigantic campaign contributions, we know it's exactly the same thing.
But is it going to be enough, though, if only individual candidates, if people like yourself, people like Buddy Roemer, who's also been on the program, say, I'll only take $100 from person? Because ultimately, you still need the party machine to work. You need to prop it up. You need to get the name out there. And all of that takes money. So, how do you actually fight the corruption without becoming a part of it?
It's so different now with social media. We have a democratized means of communicating in this world, not just in the country, but around the world. We've seen revolutions in governments because of communications that were facilitated by this new media. We can do this in this country. We can create the kind of grassroots movement that helped begin this country in the first place. And it's not going to be based on a billion-dollar campaign with all these expensive, meaningless 15, 30, 60-second spots on television. People stick with social media. If they click on something, a video they want to watch, it's because they want to watch it. It's not some break between programming on television. And we're going to show that the people of this country are smarter than what these politicians that are basing their campaigns on television think they are.
What kind of people specifically are you trying to attract here? Do you support the Occupy Wall Street movement? Do you want all of those protesters that were shutting down ports yesterday as part of it? Who else? Because if you look at some of, like you said, that climate change is a huge issue, right? You've been part of the anti-war movement. You've been part of, the LGBT movement. It kind of sounds like this is what the Democrats are supposed to be doing.
Well, and obviously the Democrats haven't. You know, we had a great opportunity for major health care reform. We're the only country in the industrialized world that doesn't provide essential health care coverage for all of our citizens. Why is that? The corrupting influence of money from the healthcare insurance
companies. And because people
companies.
are so afraid of the word socialism, right, that gets thrown out anytime you mention something like that.
Which, of course, is ridiculous. Is the rest of the industrialized world socialism? Some of those countries have multiple payers, but they don't depend on for-profit insurance companies for essential health care. So you see this common theme throughout the deregulation that caused this economic upheaval around the world. Why was that done? The corrupting influence of money from the financial sector. Why haven't people served any time? Because of that corrupting influence. Why don't we have good health care? Why aren't we providing good leadership on the climate crisis? Why are we spending as much as the rest of the entire world on military weapons? It's because of the corrupting influence of money. You know, these contractors for the F-22, completely outmoded project, they had contractors or subcontractors in 42 states. They know how to do this because then it doesn't matter what the party is. Republicans and Democrats were fighting for continued funding, billions of dollars.
Well, we see it every year. We're seeing it right now with this National Defense Authorization Act, right? It's always it's always hundreds of billions of dollars. But I'm curious too. I want to find out because I know that you said that you voted for President Obama, and yet you also told people that you didn't trust President Obama.
No, I voted him as the lesser of two evils at the time. I didn't endorse him. I was asked to endorse him, and I said I don't trust him. And I didn't want to say I told you so. I wanted him to surprise me and meet the expectations of hope and change of everybody else. He's completely betrayed his base. One of the first things he did, he came into office and said, oh, those war criminals, people that tortured for the first time as a matter of official policy in our nation's history, in violation of international treaty obligations, in violation of our own domestic laws. And he said, oh, let's look forward and not look back. Of course.
Backwards. Would you look back? Would you go after the financial criminals that you think brought down our economy? Would you prosecute George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and whoever else in that administration is culpable?
That's what the rule of law requires. What we have now in this country is a two-tiered financial system where you have the very privileged, the rich and the powerful, and then there's everybody else that's paying the price. And we have now the same thing in our legal justice system. It breaks my heart as a lawyer. I went to law school because I believed in this. This was a country I grew up in, where we had the equal application of the laws. Now, Congress, when President Obama was a senator, and he promised to join a filibuster against immunity, retroactive immunity for felonies committed by the telecommunications companies that participated in illegal surveillance of American citizens. He got the Democratic nomination, and then he entirely switched his position and voted for that.
And then that's not the only place. Unfortunately, we've seen him switch his position on many topics.
We don't have enough time.
Well, you know, Rocky, I want to thank you very much for being here tonight. I think that it's exciting to know that there is another party out there, and you know, we'll see if people actually listen, and we'll see if it's if you're capable of not serving the needs of money, because it just seems like that's the way the wheels turn around here. And how do you fight it? Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much.